The three new male accusers lawyer speaks out on CNN, and he also says that there are patterns that Diddy has done that are very similar to the Weinstein.
PASCAL, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
What's up? We have been keeping watch on everything Diddy. It has been very, very interesting, and now it's been trickling into a little Jay-Z as well, which has been very, very interesting as well. But what is wild is now this lawyer, Thomas Giffra, is coming out on CNN. He was just on News Nation. Now he's on CNN. He is speaking on behalf of his three male accusers that have stepped forward. One of them happens to be a former assistant, former employee of Diddy's. And he's saying that the patterns that Jay-Z has with how he has handled certain things with these certain crimes that he's been alleged of doing, he is saying that it's very similar. Those dealings are very similar to Harvey Weinstein. Very interesting stuff. We got to take a look at this interview. Of course, we want to stay on top of everything that's going on with Diddy, Jay-Z, and more. And so we got to see what he's got to say about everything in this new interview. Let's rock and roll, shall we?
A discovery hearing is scheduled for today in the federal investigation into sexual assault allegations against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. More than 30 lawsuits have already been filed against him, alleging sexual. He's talked about some of these civil suits as well. Here with me now is the attorney representing the latest three accusers, Thomas Giffra. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I want to ask you, there are dozens of people coming forward. Some to you, some to another attorney, but there are dozens of people. What stood out with these three men to you that made you say, you know what, we need to file this case?
The patterns. Whenever you have a serial abuser, they follow a pattern. Harvey Weinstein had a pattern. Sean Combs has a pattern. And with all three of them, the stories are a little different, but the pattern's always the same. Come into my orbit, have a drink, you get woozy, take a rest, wake up to being silenced. That was the pattern, and it was the same in every single story.
So again, look at that. He's saying, hey, same patterns that HW was accused of, same thing that Diddy is being accused of doing as well. Not the same pattern, like they're not doing the same exact pattern, but they have patterns nonetheless. I mean, and this is something that we hear about serial monsters, serial unalivers, serial horrors as well that are out here that just have a pattern. Diddy is being accused of a lot of things and a lot of crimes. And a lot of those crimes are the same breakdown, which is very terrifying. Now, I will say this, and because we have to be fair, and he's still innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That's an obvious thing, right? Court of public opinion, him guilty as hell. But one thing I do want to push back, there's only a little bit of pushback because we're all intelligent individuals here. There's still a possibility that these guys, these three men, heard things on the news, heard things on the tubes or TikTok or something like that, and found out about his pattern, about this pattern, and used it and repeated it. There's still a possibility of that, just to make their claims even more legit. Let's not forget that clearly there are going to be some people out here that are after a money grab. But then again, I mean, it's a lot of people stepping forward saying and talking about the same pattern. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out, because of course, it's just something that we have to consider.
And the details that they told you, can you give me a sense of, was there some detail that sort of stuck with you that said, I have to go forward with this?
Well, I think the person who was his gopher really struck me when he regained consciousness and Sean says to him, I'm almost done, held still. And that struck me. That was a powerful recollection, and I was struck by it, and the rawness and the arrogance actually that went along with it, and the entitlement. So that was the one that really stuck with me.
I think that one really sticks with everybody, because not only because of the gruesome detail that he gives or the details that he gives, but let's not forget, This is also Diddy's alleged former employee. He used to be his assistant. As this lawyer said, he was basically his step and fetch it. He would go out there and do things for Diddy. Diddy owed this guy money. He went up to Diddy and said, "Hey, you owe me money." Diddy said, let's meet up. Let's talk. Let's do this thing." And he met with him. He gave him a drink. And then, of course, he was attacked. I mean, for me, it's those pieces of information that I think hold a lot more water, right? That have a lot more weight, especially ones that worked closely with Diddy. That stuff is very telling as well.
I want to ask you, because your clients are filing for now anonymously.
Correct.
Why?
Every single one of them, after the rapes, were threatened. They were threatened with physical harm. They were told, if you do anything, it's not going to be good for you. And Sean Combs is not somebody who runs around with a bunch of choir boys. And those threats are very real to all of these men. One of them knew him from the neighborhood, knew the people he ran with, and knew that these were not empty threats. These were not a bunch of lawyers in offices somewhere. These are guys who can follow through, make your life end, cause you physical harm.
Goons.
So they were terrified.
You know the law better than I do, that defendants have to be able to face their accusers. And in another case, a judge did say, look, this was filed anonymously, but you now have to reveal your name. And she did indeed reveal her name. Are your clients willing, if that's what transpires, to
If it
finally
comes to pass, that's a discussion we'll have to have. I think my own personal opinion as somebody who represents people who are the survivors of abuse is this is another device by which the abusers try to abuse them and intimidate them. So I think, frankly, if it was me and I was in Washington or I was in Albany writing the law, I would say any abuser should be able to proceed anonymously, but that's just not the law. They leave it to a judge.
We know that there are several cases going simultaneously,
Correct.
Including a criminal case. Has anyone contacted you or your clients from the federal government, from federal investigations, to ask for details?
Not at this time. Not at this
Not
time.
this
no.
time.
So the feds haven't reached out to his law firm or these three men at all so far, but anything can happen here. I mean, this is still brand new for what it's worth. This information came out just a little bit ago. So yeah, feds could circle around and be like, yeah, we'd like to sit down with those three men really quick and talk about what they went through and all that.
Okay.
But we only filed it, in the last few days.
Yeah, I know you saw what Combs has said about your clients. Full of lies. These stories are full of lies. What do you say to him and his attorneys?
Well, what else are they going to say? They're not going to say they're true. They're going to say the typical thing that's said in every single one of these cases, that these are untrue, it's made up, it's phony, it's just a monetary shakedown. What else can they do? He's sitting in lockup in Brooklyn right now, charged with these very same things. And he really has no defense other than to badmouth the people who are suing him, badmouth the lawyers, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Your case stands out in several ways, but it highlights men talking about, what they say happened and talking about sexual abuse. How difficult is it for the clients to talk about sexual assault? And how often how rare is it for men to come forward?
Well, now we've heard this already before, but it's good to just have that reminder again. So let's listen to this.
Well, the one thing I've learned is statistically 9% of all rapes in this country involve men that are reported. I think it's no different for men than women to come forward. I think anytime somebody's a victim of sex abuse, it's difficult. It doesn't matter the gender.
Did they have difficulty speaking about
the
sexual abuse?
They did. And thankfully, I've done it a long enough time. And I
mean, that's a given.
Know how to speak to people. And I try to show the empathy and listen to the story and try to make them feel safe, because it's really they've lost all the power. That's the whole thing about sexual abuse. They take power away from these people, and to get them to kind of communicate can be challenging at times because it's difficult.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's a fair assessment to say that these individuals are going to have a hard time. They're going to have a hard time talking about any of this stuff. Not everybody's going to have be able to just start talking all willy-nilly. I mean, but the statistics are very interesting. And I will say this, though, too. This could be the start of something new. This could very well be a hashtag men too type situation here. Because, yeah, it is a thing where, you know, only just a few decades ago, it's finally come to the realization that men or young boys could actually be attacked in this type of vicious way, that they can also be our victims as well, SA victims as well. But regardless of that, and we've talked about that in a previous video. So beyond that, I think it's very interesting that he says that there's a pattern here that it also mimics kind of like a pattern that Harvey Weinstein, you know, had as well. That is a very telling piece of information there, and kind of scary if you really think about it. Okay. But what say you guys as far as what he has said? Of course, he's back on CNN talking about things again. Now he is linking these particular people. Another Harvey Weinstein is the name for real. This is some very serious stuff. The fact that he's connecting them in as far as their habits and patterns, that they kind of do the same thing. It's very telling, in my personal opinion. What say you guys? Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to crush that subscribe button. And I'll be talking to you guys very soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. We'll talk soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.